Welcome to the Write It Down podcast with the 1513 Network. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, bringing you one-on-one interviews to challenge, inspire, and encourage. You would think by episode 76 I wouldn't have to do 2 takes, 3 takes, 4 takes, 5 takes on an intro, but this is my second take. I have to be transparent, and this is my 3rd solo episode, but I've gotten some good feedback on the couple solo episodes that I've done, so I decided to do another one. This one's a little more, what would you say, maybe cultured. I have a segment in here called Trauma, Drama, and Baby Mamas, and you're just going to have to listen to this episode to find out what the heck that means, because I just came up with it and you're not going to be able to Google it. So, you know what to do. Sit back, relax, and get your pens ready, because this is Write It Down. Welcome to the Write It Down podcast with the 1513 Network. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, bringing you one-on-one interviews to challenge, inspire, and encourage, or in this case, another solo episode. I've gotten some good feedback on doing some solo episodes, so I'm going to sprinkle these in more often. Gives me some more practice here on the mic, and I just get to talk about what I want to talk about. So this is a great outlet for me, and if you listen to this podcast with just me on it, thank you. That is so nice, because normally I feel like I'm over talking a lot and people are like, shh, quiet, like we don't need to hear you anymore. So the fact that you're actively choosing to listen to me in your spare time is a complete honor, and I promise not to waste all of your time. There are some things I definitely want to talk about on here today. A couple headlines that I have, but I'm going to do a little segment, I think, today called Trauma, Drama, and Baby Mamas. And the trauma is a traumatic event that has happened in my life recently. The drama is a drama that's going on with like E! News or anything else in the world. And Baby Mamas comes from one of my favorite movies, Baby Mamas, with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. And it rhymes with trauma and drama, so of course I'm going to say Baby Mamas. But that's going to be my most recent movie watch and my opinion on it and how it ties into real life. So for the traumatic event in my life that just recently happened, and I know you might be thinking it's a traumatic dating experience, and I have plenty of those, and one day I will share them, but they need to be further removed from the season of life I'm in because they were recent, in the sense of within the last year. And if they or anybody in this small town listens to it and knows who they are, that would then be traumatic for them. So I'm not going to share about that, but the trauma that I went through recently was somebody's worst nightmare happened. I was driving in my car and I looked up on my ceiling and there was a huge spider. And I'm not talking like little wispy spider. I'm talking like a spider with a body. Like, you know how you have those little wispy little spiders that like you could just shoo it off? Kind of looks like a mosquito. No, this one had a body. Marshall, what are bodies called on insects again? Thorax?
Yeah, thorax.
It had a thorax.
And an abdomen?
Yeah, an abdomen. An abdomen, a thorax, and appendages. So it's like this crawly thing above my head. I'm like, oh, heck no. I'm literally driving at 35 miles per hour, about to pick up speed. I was going to eventually have to get on 95. I was not far from my 95, the ramp. And I'm like looking up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And my best friend was following me. So like I call her in like a panic. I'm like, hey, I'm going to pull over. There's a spider right now. So I pull over and I have my like flashers on and I get like kind of situated. I take my shoe off slowly and I went to go hit it. I missed. And it fell down. And I'm like, Mother of the Lord, please, Jesus, sweet baby Jesus, I need you right now, because this spider is now somewhere lost between my cup holder, my seatbelt, and my inner thighs. And I was like, okay, well, it's not in the ceiling anymore. So I get out of the car. I mean, my heart is like racing. Like I am like through the roof, because again, this is not a wispy spider. This is like a thorax spider. And I'll have to find like a picture and like tag it or something in this episode, because it was like kind of like white gray spider, like with like thick legs. So this is definitely a dangerous specimen. So this was very traumatic. What ended up happening was it started crawling a little bit more in my cup holder and I smushed it. Oh, this reminds me of another traumatic event, and I think the plagues are coming, because like a week later I was putting the dishes away, like in the dishwasher, and a big cockroach, like this big, is in my dishwasher. I'm home alone, and I'm like, no ma'am. absolutely not. This is like not okay. I've already been through a lot with a spider. Now I got to go with some sort of, and cockroaches are crunchy. And so like I had to go outside. This is the thing with bugs. You have to find something to kill it with while you kind of keep your eye on it, because you turn your head and they're gone, right? So it's like I have to go find a shoe, because I'm not going to use a napkin or a paper towel, because no ma'am, I'm not going to have only one layer of something between me and this cockroach. I'm going to smash it, squeeze it down, then grab a wad of paper towels, a wad of toilet paper, and I'm just going to blanket it over, act like it didn't happen, throw it in the trash, which I did, and I survived both traumatic events, and I lived to tell the story. So those are the things that have happened to me, and I think that's my worst nightmare, apart from somebody told me a couple hundred spiders in a year go down your throat. I said that very weird, but like if you mouth breathe and there's like baby spiders, they like go in your mouth and crawl down your throat. So someone's gonna have to look up if that's a myth or not, but I'm a mouth breather while I'm sleeping or when I'm not sleeping. So I'm sure I've swallowed a ton of thoraxes and larvae. So it's absolutely disgusting. And if you've tuned into this episode and you want to check out, don't, because I'm getting to the drama portion. Drama. There's no drama in my life currently that I can say, aside from the trauma that's happening, and then, you know, some work drama, but like nothing too crazy. I would probably say like being a bartender, you're always going to be able to pick up on some drama, whether it's restaurant, like in-house drama, or if it's like people who come in and bring their drama, because like I've said before, you are a therapist, you are a friend, you are a server, you are everything to these people. Sometimes I'm a pastor to these people, and that's a very fun time. But you hear a lot of stories, so I can't think of any drama that I've heard of this week, but there is some drama in the Hollywood scene. Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson have reportedly broken up, and Kanye, I guess, had a smart remark about it on Instagram or Twitter, you know, whatever, and then he deleted it. And I don't really believe those headlines, because I'm like, who saw this? Because if you sit there and say Kanye West had an opinion on Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson, and you're E! News, you're telling me you didn't screenshot that so you could use it for your post? So you're telling me nobody has access to this reported tweet or Instagram post? Are you trying to stir up drama because you used to own the rights to Keeping Up with the Kardashians and then they left you to go for Hulu? So I don't know who you're playing with, E! News, but I don't know if Kanye ever said anything about Kim and Pete. I'm sure he did, but nobody has any evidence of it, and maybe that'll come out soon. But Kim K, Pete Davidson, their story, you know, here's the thing. Like, I've been told before that there are guys that will just shoot their shot, and they'll shoot their shot with like the prettiest woman ever. I feel like that's what happened with Pete Davidson. And I also feel like that's what happened with Travis Barker and Machine Gun Kelly getting the women they got. It's just kind of like, you know what? There's a little bit of an imbalance there, but love is blind, and every pot has a lid, as my friend would say. You know, one thing my friend did say, she's like, listen, every pot has a lid. And I said, then honey, I must be in the wrong cabinet, because I cannot find my pot. And I'm a pretty good lid, so I don't know what's going on here. So, but it's true that there are plenty of fish in the sea, and some might be in a small swimming pool. But for Kim K and Pete Davidson in the celebrity circles, these people like pass around boyfriends and girlfriends and husbands and wives like ping pong, like back and forth, back and forth. I mean, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez just got married, and their first love story was when I was young, so I don't remember it. I didn't keep up with it, you know, but I always thought her and A-Rod were going to get married. And then they didn't, and then she gets rekindled with Ben, and it's like a 20-year love story. So it's like, you know what? What is true love in Hollywood if you can just play ping pong back and forth? I mean, come on. I just don't understand how people move on so fast. But maybe people are just built differently than me, because I couldn't do it. I'd be exhausted. So that's the drama of the day. Baby mamas of the day. The movie that I watched this week that I was reportedly very, very disappointed in. I just have to say, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was not that great. And Marshall, you're a Marvel fan. Did you like it?
I didn't think it was that good.
No, it was kind of cheesy. And here's the thing. The movie Spider-Man Multiverse with Doctor Strange in it was incredible. I thought they did such a great job, like, building that storyline. But this one, I was like, you know what? It's a little cheesy. But there is something that I learned from it that we can apply to our daily lives here as well. It spoke to me because I think that movies and themes in movies rip off their plot line from the Bible. There's always a hero, there's always a villain, and there's always someone special to save, right? So if you look at it this way, I know I'm a cool Christian, so I'm going to break it down for you. But we have the enemy, we have Jesus, and we have us, someone to save, someone worth saving and fighting for. That is the plot line of most movies, right? It's a ripoff. But you know what? It's a good one. And I think that copycat and mimicking is the best form of flattery. So all power to you. But I love these types of stories. But there's this girl, and I'm not going to ruin it, I don't think, by telling you the premise, because the premise is going to be in the write-up of the movie when you're going through Amazon Prime or Disney Plus to look at what movie you're going to watch. But there's a girl named America, and she has a superpower. There's Doctor Strange, and then there's this evil woman. I won't tell you who the evil woman is because you'll find out in the movie if you watch it. But long story short, this evil woman wants to have a family one day because she never got to in her own life. And multiverse just means there's multiple universes. So there's different versions of yourself. So let's say there's a version of me that does Write It Down podcast with the 1513 network. There's one version of me, let's say in a different universe, I was married with 2 kids and I worked at Walmart. That sounds like my worst multiverse. And then let's say there's another one where I'm just, I'm Paris Hilton's best friend. I'm dating Channing Tatum, and I'm just living this high life. That would be a dream. So let's just say all of these different things, there's these different people, and they're actually real, but they're just in different multiverses. Well, America, this girl, is not in different multiverses. She only has one sole purpose, right? And person. So she has the power for this evil woman to be able to have a family in whatever universe that she's in, because that's all she wants. So she tries to kidnap this girl, enter Doctor Strange. America doesn't trust Doctor Strange because when she was in a different universe, Doctor Strange wasn't a good guy, okay, because he had an alter ego in this different universe. So she meets Doctor Strange and she's like, how do I know I can trust you? Because in the last universe I was in with you, you really let me down and you screwed the whole mission up. And he's like, that's not me. I'm not that person. We're totally 2 different people. Yes, we look the same. Yes, we have the same name, but I am not that person. And she is like hesitating the entire movie to trust Doctor Strange, right? And in this moment, I was like, wow, she is having a hard time trusting based on her past experience, right? And so I took this and I was like, oh, okay, Brooke, hello, you did the same thing in your life, and everybody does the same thing in their life, right? Somebody hurt you. Your dad hurt you. Your pastor let you down. Your teacher let you down. Your mom abandoned you. So then you start to create these distrusts with new people that you meet, right? Or you get your heart broken by a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and then you meet someone new and you're like, okay, I've seen this before. I've seen this happen. I've seen this pattern. And you don't even give that person a chance because of what you've seen in a different person, or quote unquote, in her case, a different universe. And I thought about that because I am number one Captain America of it all, little Marvel plug there, at assuming the worst about people, about situations, about scenarios, okay? Like if somebody, and this is real, and this is not like, it is funny, but it's also something I have to work on actively. Like if somebody doesn't respond to me via text, or somebody responds to me differently in person, I'm literally like, wow, they hate me. So if there's a ledge, I'm jumping off, right? If I'm in a pool, I'm in the deep end. I'm going down to the bottom. I'm going to the pit. Worst case scenario. I don't like that that's who I am. I don't like that that's my quote unquote flesh and how my tendency as a human is. By the grace of God and the power of Christ in me, that's not going to be my lot in life. But it's something that I have to go, okay, Brooke, not everybody is X, Y, and Z. Okay, so maybe you had a friend in your life that when they got short with you in person and were rude to you, it was directed at you, because of you, for you, only you. Notice the key word is you. But then you meet somebody else in your life that's short with you, and you're like, they must hate me, they must this, they must that. And then you find out they just lost their parent or their spouse. You're like, oh my gosh, their reaction to me, their lack of eye contact with me, their monotone voice, had absolutely nothing to do with me. And I know that my parents who are listening to this episode right now are going to laugh and be like, ha ha ha. And then they're going to shove this episode in my face when I do this myself. And you know what? That's okay if they like to keep records of wrongs. I'm here not doing that. So thank you. But bottom line is America in Doctor Strange had that very same attitude. Right? And so it took time for the real Doctor Strange to show her, listen, I'm not like that. We're going to take a quick break to discuss Write It Down's brand new website. You can head over to widpod.com, widpod.com, and see all the goods. You'll notice a banner at the top of the page that says Learn More. If you click that link, it'll show you how you can support Write It Down. P.S. My favorite part about the website is the Wid Wall, which is a collection of all the Write It Downs from the show. This podcast is made possible by the 1513 Network, so show the network some love and support by listening to their other shows. If not, just stick with Write It Down, because I'm the coolest, the realest, the illest. Now, back to the show. Right? We can take this even deeper to people who think that Christianity is a sham. Right? Because they met a pastor or they went to a really, really strict church. I'm going to throw the Baptist under the bus right now because I get it. But not just the Baptist, but there's some other denominations out there that make everybody feel small. And that's not every Baptist that you meet or every Presbyterian or every Methodist or even non-denoms. Whatever it is, whether it's Catholic, it could be anything, right? And I've heard this argument a lot out in the world is most of the wars were created by Christians and Christian beliefs and unrest and all these different things, right? That I feel like is a different topic for a different day, and I'd love to tap into that and maybe get somebody on so that we can openly discuss that, because I think there is obviously some truth to that, but I definitely think underneath that perception is just more brokenness than there is maliciousness. So that's a whole nother story. But long story short, you can sit there and write off a people group, right, which is what racists do. They write off a people group based on the way they look, based on the way they've behaved in history, based on the way they've behaved currently, whatever it is. It could be a job title, it could be anything that you create like a prejudice about, and you say, oh, okay, well, same thing with cops. This cop did this, all cops are bad. This Christian hurt me, all Christians are bad. This such and such this guy did this to me, then this guy must be untrustworthy too. This girl said this to me, all girls must be crazy. They are. Sorry about it. But there's a few different types of crazy, okay? And it's just which one you want to deal with the rest of your life for the women. Sorry about it. It's just hard. It's hard for us out there. But long story short, that's the whole thing that I'm learning in my life is the assumptions that I make. And my roommate mentioned this before I came into the studio today. Shout out to Bob Goff for this one. I guess there's certain things that and I haven't heard them firsthand, but there are certain things that he says that you should do when you're assuming about somebody. And he said, I might be butchering this, but this is like through my roommate who listened to the podcast, but to assume generously. So thinking best case scenario about the person and being generous about it, right? So it's basically giving somebody what you might think they don't deserve, right? And that is a very hard concept. I am not speaking from a place that knows how to do that, because I'm telling you, it's almost every other day I think the world's ending because of some sort of person or whatever. And it's like, Brooke, can you just come to the shallow end and not be in the deep end for like a second? And can you also just step away from the ledge here and there? But anyways, so Doctor Strange really kind of lit me up in that way, even though it was a very cheesy movie, was to be like, wow, can you imagine and there are people out there like this, and this is something I don't want to become. And I think that being self-aware is the first step to not being insane. But there are people out there, I need to put the pen down. I'm like up here like I'm a teacher. But there are people out there that will meet somebody and automatically put their guard up, right? Because of the things that they've gone through in their life. All I'm suggesting is maybe just put like a little picket fence up, something you can see through and see over, maybe just not a barricade. Somebody told me once, or maybe I read this in a book, and I say that lightly because I don't read, like, ever, but it sounds more studious to say I read this in a book. But when you put boundaries up, boundaries are more like a fence than they are a wall, right? Fences are a little more transparent. You can climb up and over them. When you put a wall up, it's like all your guards are up. You put a boundary and kind of lay like a little picket fence or a chain link fence or even just like a full privacy fence, you can still kind of see through the cracks and peer through and maybe have a little gate that somebody can come through, right? So you have to do that. That is something you have to do. Nobody else can do that for you. Because if someone starts throwing a bomb or bulldozing your wall down, you're going to feel like invaded. But if you're the one that takes your walls down and puts a little fence up and gives somebody access to it, and you're the one that controls whether it's open or closed, you're in control of the door, then it's a win-win because you're able to kind of, like they say in business with sales, there's always a gatekeeper. When I was doing sales for like 6 months, didn't survive it, but we always had to go to the front desk of the person or of the office, and they were your gatekeeper to let you in if you could go back and talk to the big wigs, right? So you are able, and as a Christian, your gatekeeper is the Holy Spirit. If you're not a Christian, I don't know, maybe get a good friend. But you can have people in your life that help you with that gate, but just don't put a wall up, okay? I went on a whole tangent. Couple Q&As that I have here from some widpod followers. They asked, what are 3 main tips for a productive day? I really liked this question. One, I think is a really good tip, is wake up at the same time each day. Because you're creating a rhythm, and a lot of people say go to bed at the same time. That's just not going to happen for me, especially with The Terminalist coming out with Chris Pratt. It's not going to happen. I'll stay up super late watching that. But anyways, waking up at the same time every day is super helpful because you're creating a rhythm for yourself. Let's say you have to go to work at 8:30 a.m. every morning. And it takes you about 45 minutes to physically get ready. I recommend having another 45 minutes lumped in there to wake up, brew your coffee, have your hot tea, whatever it is, drink your hot water, do your yoga, squeeze some lemon on your face, whatever people do, and have some quiet time. If you're a Christian, this is time you can spend with Jesus or journaling and praying to him. If you're not, it could be time. It could be you writing out your daily goals, your daily tasks, something you want to get done that day, just kind of getting it out there on paper, write it down podcast, maybe throw on a podcast like mine. Have time to yourself is number 2. So number 1 is wake up at the same time each day. Have time for yourself with Jesus or without Jesus. That's your own personal choice. And then start with the hardest task first. That's something I like to do in my life with things. If there's something I know, and this sounds silly, but it's real, there are certain emails that I have to write or respond to with just different facets of my life that I typically dread. I'd rather get those done with in the beginning of the day instead of having it hang over my head. It's kind of the same with running. I'd rather get my run done early in the morning because I know by the time work is out, I'm not going to want to go pick up and run 7 to 8 miles during the week. So I kind of like to get like the hardest tasks done first in the day, and then let the rest of my day kind of trickle and ease, into the nighttime. That way you feel accomplished because you done did it, right? It's kind of like you eat like a king in the morning, you eat like a queen for breakfast, you eat like a peasant or prince at night for calorie control. So it's kind of like that concept of like it's big and then it just dwindles down and gets a little easier. So those would be my 3 main tips for a productive day. I also had another question come in, is when is merch coming out for the Write It Down podcast? I know I've been teasing you guys for about 2.5 to 3 years now. I do need to get some merch out. It's also super exciting and honorable that people would want to wear Write It Down podcast out or have a mug or have a pen or a picture of my face in their car air freshener. I should do that, Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Just a little smile with the Write It Down podcast as an air freshener. You know, it would smell like, this is something I'll ask you. Maybe you can put it in the comments on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, or in the reviews. I don't care. But if you had a scent, if you were an air freshener, what would your scent be? Ooh, I should ask my guests that. Yeah, wow, that was so deep. I hope to remember that next guest I have, and I will ask them that. But I think if I was an air freshener, I like cologne-like smells, like more citrusy. I don't like musky, where it makes my throat want to close. But like, I like anything like light and crisp. And a little floral, but not too floral to where I smell like I just walked out of a powder room in Europe, although I do love Europe. But I like a little more like citrusy, you know, masculine, aqua, whatever it is, you know, dolce. I love dolce. I do like Dolce & Gabbana Garden. If you know me personally, you know that my perfume collection is outrageous. And I probably have a couple $1,000s worth of perfume, no lie, on my life in my drawer because I just ask for things for Christmas and my birthday. And because Christmas and my birthday are 3 days away and everybody hates me around my birthday and only celebrates Christmas, people feel bad sometimes and give me more perfume. So it's really great. It's a win-win for me. That answers the question about merch. Maybe I'll get an air freshener. But yes, I do want to have merch come out. I need to make that one of my goals, you know, maybe one of my big king size goals to bite down on. But we are getting to the end of the show, and I would say my write it down for this episode would be assume the best in people, neglect the worst case scenario. So with that, kind of shortened and condensed, is assume the best, right? Because you have no idea what that other person's going through. You don't know if that Dr. Strange that's popping into your life is actually someone that's trustworthy and helpful and someone that's going to help you along the way in your life and someone that you can help them. I'd also say, maybe this is another write it down or just something to think about, but consider this. Take down the wall brick by brick and put up a fence. It doesn't mean you need to be laying there out there naked with your heart out there and your heart on your sleeve. You know, there is healing in your life that can be made. There can be peace that's made with your horrible dad or your horrible mom or your horrible sister or your horrible ex or your horrible child or your horrible past self. Whatever it is, there is grace to be had. And as you guys know, I'm a solid believer in Jesus, cool Christian, blessings. There is grace to be found with Jesus, and he gives you this strength and grace like no other for people. I don't know how he does it because there have been times where I'm like, if I wasn't a Christian, I'm out. Like, I'm done. These people exhaust me. So with that, thank you so much for listening, and do not forget to write it down. Thank you for listening to the Write It Down podcast. This podcast is a part of the 1513 network. You can catch a variety of shows on their website, 1513.com. If you enjoy listening to Write It Down, please subscribe, share with your friends, and if there's any ink left in your pen, write a review. For more content, follow the fun on Instagram by following at WIDPOD. That spells widpod. It's super cool. It stands for Write It Down Podcast, but it's abbreviated to widpod. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.